Hey there. Looks like we are live today on Facebook. And do you constantly feel like you're burning the candle at both ends or that you need to make sales and money right now? Like it's almost all you can think about. Today, I'm going to break down where I think burnout comes from, one of the causes, my own first go to step for stepping back from it and getting some sanity around everything you're doing in your business. I am Reese Spikerman, and you are inside the Commerce Collab Facebook group. Welcome. If it's your first time with a live with me. Let me first go check and see if I have anyone in the comments. And speaking of burnout and a feeling of being rushed, I've often felt whenever I hop on a Facebook Live, like I've got to rush through it. So one of the things I'm going to do today is try to take my time and pause and check in with myself, be in the moment with you here. And of course, right now, Facebook is not cooperating for me to see your comments. Okay, hold on. I'm going to go take a look quick. Listen, after the Commerce Collab, it ended last week, like early last week. I really needed a break. Okay. I love doing that series so much with you, and it also completely tanked my system. It's just a lot to put on, even with the help of a team. So that's why I've gone a little bit quiet this past week and a half. And I will say that there's times during this past week or so that I have had this feeling of, I need to be doing more. And if I don't show up right away from you, for you, in a Facebook Live or in emails, that I'll be letting you down. And the reason I share that is because I think it relates so much to today's conversation and topic. And I wanted to share it with you so that you know this is something that I am navigating in my own business. All right, there's the live. Okay, great. We just got back from 3 incredible days at Lake Michigan. And I was still doing some work while I was there, but it gave me all this space in my business that I really needed. And for me personally, whenever I'm around big water or the mountains, which we don't live near mountains, it just grounds me. It helps me get back to kind of a base level, slow down. The inertia and things that have been going and going, it slows them down. And it's amazing that right now I've gotten to the point where I have a business where I have been able to build in that kind of recovery time and that space into my business. So what I want to talk about with you today are 3 different things. First is what I think is the cause of us feeling like we have to be everywhere and do everything all the time, like posting content everywhere, responding to customers immediately, like all this stuff where we're constantly feeling stimulated, and what's going on in our bodies at that time and why it kind of continues to propagate that response. And then last, I'm going to leave you with my favorite exercise for slowing the heck back down and really being able to step away and get into what I'm going to call the CEO mindset so that you can look a little bit more objectively about what's going on in your business with your responses, with this anxiety, and maybe get a more clear picture and get into that state where you're thinking more strategically rather than reacting. I'm just going to take a look at my notes. All right. The reason I'm talking about this with you today on a Friday before the weekend is this. Listen, we are like a week, 10 days into the 4th quarter of this year. And that means we've got Black Friday, Cyber Monday coming right around the bend, holidays hot on those days as heels. And I know that you are personally on the cusp of juggling even more stuff than you are juggling already. And that's why I am doing this today in ahead of this weekend to try and help you, give you some grounding and some reset as you head into these next fairly harried weeks that are going to be ahead. I can relate to feeling rushed. Like you have so much going on. And like I said, whenever I do one of these lives, it's hard for me to not feel rushed. And I'm just going to take a minute again and pause and be present with you. Now, let's talk about why I think we burn the candle at both ends and why we have this feeling like everything has to happen now. And I want to preface this by saying it's possible that there are some of you listening who have a very real need to bring in income to feed your family and keep the lights on. Like, this is a real challenge that you are navigating in your life and your business. And if, like, it's whether you keep your house or not. And if that's you, some of what we're going to talk about today doesn't apply, because what you're dealing with is like at a different level, but you still have a place here. But I didn't want you to feel like, gosh, Reese, you just kind of disregarded what are actually very real economics scenarios for me. I'm not at all. But for the rest of us who may be comfortable enough that we're eating fine each week and we've got a roof over our head and it's not a big deal to pay the mortgage and the utility bills, then this is particularly for you that I'm thinking about. I can go get Tiki a toy if I need to, right? You might not be rolling in it, but for you, like, things are comfortable enough, and yet you still have this feeling of, I need to be here, I need to do all the things, and I need to make money now. And one of the things I read in a lot of the comments for the people who were joining the Commerce Collab group was, how do I make money now? Like, this instant, right? And if that's you, either the make money now or the feeling like you have to be everywhere and do everything, comment burnout in the comments below, okay? I think a lot of the cause of this is our cultural conditioning, especially if we come from the United States and also some other parts of the world too. Like, we are taught from a young age to constantly excel and do better or be high achievers, or some people may have come from a family background with a lot of economic insecurity. So we carry like that conditioning and that trauma into our lives as adults. And then it's stacked further by being with a culture that reinforces this need to hustle. And there's nothing wrong with having big dreams for yourself, wanting to accomplish a lot of things, wanting to excel and achieve. The problem comes in is when we never give ourselves permission to rest, right? And we also have this belief that if we do more, if we output more and more, if we just work harder, like, that's where monetary and other kind of success lies. But it's kind of like, if you've ever ridden in a car with someone who it's kind of jerky, like, all they do is they either like slam their foot on the gas or they're braking, right? At some point, like, that burns through fuel in that car so much faster than versus when you're kind of more relaxed about the acceleration and the braking. And when we just keep going and going and doing and outputting more and thinking like we have to stay in this rat race, we will in fact burn out. It happens. It's happened to me in the past. It will happen to you. But there's also this year, this crazy, crazy year. Like, think about the significant events of this year, how much the pandemic and the lockdowns have impacted our lives. And it drives this, I think, deep-seated fear of needing to make money now. And I think that part of why is we're seeking certainty, like that reassurance that we feel we're going to get from money in the midst of a lot of uncertainty. So those are some of the cultural aspects and the things that are going on this year in this moment in time that I think drive that hustle. And then there's these physiological aspects too. And this is something I'm really passionate about because I've gotten really clear on what's going on in my own body for the past few years. I think sometimes when we have that, I need to do this now, like I need to make money now, or I need to resolve this problem in my life, this hot instant, it's because we're struggling with discomfort in our body. And we're hoping that that will be this quick fix that resolve this discomfort for us. And it also goes hand in hand with burning the candle at the both ends. Like, if we are hustling really hard, we're working those 60-hour weeks or whatever it is in our business, and we feel like we're spending all day either putting out fires or trying to put out content. We don't want to hear from someone that we still need to wait a bit of time and do more foundational work in our business before the money comes in and before the money's consistent. Like, we're tired already. Don't tell me that. So here's what I want you to hear. And it's a tough thing. It's growing a successful business does take time and it takes space. There's no magical overnight pill. And I wish there were. I wish there were. But there isn't. What I want to give you this weekend is a gift of an exercise that has helped me slow down and get a better perspective in my own business and life when things feel really fast and when they feel out of control. And I've cobbled this exercise together from a couple different sources over the years. Like, I've taken influence from Julia Cameron's morning pages, as well as some philosophers that I follow who do this thing called self-inquiry. So part of why I'm sharing this with you is to give you something to help you, and also so you can see how my brain works, because this kind of thinking is also the kind of thinking I apply when I analyze consumer behavior and websites and what's going on with them. So they actually go hand in hand, and you're going to get a little glimpse of how my head works at times. So this is what I want you to do this weekend. Set aside 30 to 60 minutes for yourself. And it might be really helpful to you if you can grab that time alone. You know, if you have to lock yourself in the bathroom, if you have a partner, ask them to take care of the kids for 30 or 60 minutes, whatever you need to do to grab a little time. Because I think when we're alone, it's often easier for us to unlock this stuff in ourselves. Then I want you to get a journal. And I want you to write down 2 questions on 2 separate pages of that journal. All right? And you may need more than 1 page. In fact, I'm hoping that you do. The first question I want you to write down at the top of the page, on the first page, is this: what do I think will happen if I stop hustling so hard? I'm going to repeat that. What do I think will happen if I stop hustling so hard? And then the second question that I want you to put on a separate page is this: where does my need to make instant money come from? So again, where does my need to make instant money come from? So the key here with this exercise is you're not just going to write down your first response and be like, okay, Reese, I did the exercise. Now what? You want to ask the question of why. You want to dig deeper. So if you wrote to the first question, if I stop hustling so hard, people will forget about my products. Okay? Very real response, totally relatable. Then I want you to then ask yourself the question, and you might write it down, right? And I think also I want to suggest you do this in physical writing versus typing, because I do think it can unlock a different part of our brains. So then the next thing I want you to do is, this isn't exact, right? You're going to have to decide for yourself. And I know you can do this, but you might write, why do I think they'll forget about my products? Right? So what answer comes to you? And if the answer to that, like, is, for example, something like, because the world is so noisy and I struggle to be seen and heard, well, then you might ask the question of, why do I think I'm not being heard, right? The more you dig, the more you're going to get to the root of why you're doing what you're doing, with burning the candle at both ends. And also, if you have that urgency about money with that second question, and it's, again, not related to like a very dire economic circumstance, you're going to get a lot more of a clear response for yourself about why the money right now feels so important to you. And I want you to know there are no wrong answers here, and there's no judgment here. I'm not going to judge what you write. You don't have to show me. You don't have to show anyone. You're the only one who has to see it. And some of the responses might be a bit uncomfortable for you, but I know you can do this. And here's why I want you to do this. First of all, taking these 30 to 60 minutes slows you down. It gets you away from this thing, your phone, right? It gets you away from that automated response going on physiologically in your body, that inertia of, I got to do this, I got to do this. You know, and I've talked about this before, we almost get this addicted to this cycle because of technology of the thing we've got to do next. So slowing down to write, to do this really physical act of writing, is in and of itself a way for you to give yourself some rest, right? There's that immediate response. It also removes you away from that reacting mode, that constant doing mode. And the reason this is so important is because you shift your brain into a deeper thinking mode. And that is often where we can solve the problems of our life and our business. That's where we sometimes see a new way of looking at our problems that we couldn't see because we were just spending all day doing and outputting, right? Actually, let me fix that. Not so much doing and outputting, although that's some of it, but we're spending all day, like one of my friends said this to me, taking in. Like we're taking in people's responses to us on Instagram. We're taking in our customer and their emails. We're taking in orders. So this, even though it may feel like you're outputting a lot, this output is for you. It's your deep thinking time. It's for your business. And so instead of just kind of like doing one quick thing after another that we aren't really sure are helping our business, this lets us slow down and analyze from a much smarter, like wiser place within us. One of my mentors refers to this kind of time as your CEO time. So think of this journal exercise this weekend as part of your CEO time. It's like the make shit happen, but at the bigger level, like not at the hustle level, but more at the, where do I go next in my business? What does wise me have to say about all this? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And is it really effective? Like, how is it serving me? Is it truly serving my business? Or is it possibly serving psychological needs within me, for example? So you do this instead of just riding the waves of marketing fad after marketing fad, which is really part of what will burn you out and make you feel like you're burning that candle at both ends. So this is what I'd love for you to do this weekend. And I want you to also consider it some self-care time too. You're taking care of you, right? And even though you're writing maybe about your business a bit, you're also taking time to connect with yourself. And with that said, I'm going to take the rest of this afternoon off to connect with this beautiful day that we're having here in Michigan. I think it must be almost 70 degrees. And I have to say, it's one of those days where it's like, this may be it. This may be the last good day before the snow flies and everything gets crazy here. I don't want to think about that. So I'm going to go enjoy my afternoon. And listen, will you drop me a comment if you decide to do this exercise, whether you watch the live or you watch this on replay? I'd really love to know if you did it. And if you want to share any insights that you got from it, that's great. And if you don't, like they feel too private to you, that's fine too. And I will see you next week. I hope you have an amazing weekend. Bye-bye.